Hello, ingenious sewing professionals. Facebook hasn't been playing nicely, so hopefully um, this is going to work this time. And today, funny how that actually fits, I want to ask you a question. How easily do you get discouraged when things don't go your way? Now, the answer to that question is really quite important because it indicates how difficult you'll find building your business. And the good news is, even if you do get easily discouraged, that outlook can be changed by getting a new perspective on what things mean. Now, it really is something that comes up quite a lot for people who are starting out, who are in the early stages of their business, or who at some point later on decide to take a turn, make a shift and transition into a different product or offering something to different client base. So basically, you take changing tack within what you're doing, which is basically like starting something new. And things that are quite typical or happen often, or I would say always, when you start out with something new is you put out some kind of marketing effort. Often it's social media, sometimes it's locally. You try and market your product or service. And in the early stages, it's quite common to not get any response at all. Or if you do get somebody to express some interest, when you offer them what you've got and you think it'd be perfect fit for them, and they go, oh no, I'll think about it, or yeah, maybe another time, and they just don't take you up on that offer, even though you actually get the sense that it would be really, really helpful for them. And the other thing is, if we get beyond that stage and they go, yeah, it'd be nice, but Jesus, it's way more than I expected, or basically made way more expensive than I costs more than I want to spend on this, or it's more than I can pay. So that's just like three typical scenarios. There's plenty more if you've started to get yourself out there. There's plenty more situations where you have an idea in your mind of what you want to do and how you want to help people, what you want to offer, and with all the enthusiasm in the world, you go out and present that and get that out into the world, and response is like kind of lukewarm or nothing at all. Now the question is, how do you feel when that happens? Is there a sense of feeling disheartened and disappointed and deflated? It's something that when I talk to people, that comes across quite often, that sense of feeling lost, of I don't know how can I help people see that what I have to offer is actually a great fit for them, for example. But the sense of feeling disheartened is easy. It's easy to put the sort of blame or on the people you're talking to, or on bloody internet or bloody computers or whatever it is. Now what I'm suggesting is to have a closer look at that sense of discouragement. Where does that come from? In my experience, it's when I have certain expectations or certain ideas of how something should pan out, and when it doesn't, then to take that personally. Because I remember when I started my sewing business, I didn't have a waiting list of like months or whatever. I actually went with little flyers. I ran around all the dance schools in Granada, and I posted my little flyer and I spoke to the dance schools, and basically nobody gave a shit. There was, oh yeah, yeah, we'll call you. Some would say, yeah, yeah, we could, but like, so just, we need somebody who's right on the ball, who's super good, and basically hardly charges anything because we don't want to spend money on this. And any of the flyers I put out, I didn't get any response at all. And that wasn't a matter of a couple of weeks. Like, that went on almost a year, right? And so the thing to realize is that everybody goes through that. Everybody starts off somewhere, and everybody will have initially that sense of, I've got something to offer and people can't see it. And don't respond to it because they don't know who you are, and it's just like, I don't know, it just doesn't resonate in that moment. Now, if you feel discouraged after a couple of weeks and stop putting out things and stop telling people what you're doing, well, then it's easy to imagine where that business will go, right? And the problem really is just what we expect, how long that should take. I mean, I'm guilty as charged. I went out there with all the enthusiasm, thought, I can make really cool things. I had my little bag of stuff, and like, how can people not like this? How can people not want it? But it just takes a while to really hit that sweet spot between that people actually know you, and that people trust you, and that what you've got is somehow enters their world. And it's not something that you can figure out from your desk. So you have to go out and propose or to offer, and just adjust what that rejection actually means. And to realize that, no, that's not personal. Because there were a lot of people who initially, I might have offered my skirts to, and they go, oh yeah, that's kind of nice, and then nothing, who would then a few months later come back. Because just because somebody is aware of what you're offering doesn't mean they need it now. So that's one thing. And it's also, and sometimes it actually always pays to, if there is a pattern in reactions, to take a step back and say, what could that actually mean? Could that mean that I'm offering something to an audience who doesn't want or need what I offer, right? And that is kind of that thing where it's like, well, it's hard to tell by how long are you going to go and offer it until you come to the conclusion, oh, maybe it isn't the right product for the right audience. So it's a matter of, okay, I've taken that information and let's just adjust and let's try something else. So you take a step back, review, and try something else. Because also that's the other side, if you keep, it's attributed to Einstein to say, keep like doing the same thing and expecting different results is the definition of insanity. And I see that a lot of people do as well. Like, they keep doing the same thing and it doesn't actually get any results, but they don't do anything different either. And so in that case, if your market, like, say, let's go back to the initial example, say if your marketing efforts don't get any results at all, now let's take a step back. Instead of like, oh no, like, maybe I'm not instead of going the route of taking that personally and thinking, maybe I'm not cut out for this, and people are so nasty and nobody helps me, nobody supports me, and going down that route and feeling really disheartened, discouraged, which takes you straight towards, stuff this, I'm going to get a job, or I'm going to stay in my job if you haven't left your job yet. What if you took a step back and thought, okay, so what I'm doing here isn't giving me the results. What else could that mean? So is there a way that I can change my approach to marketing? What else can I do, or how can I connect with people how can I, because especially with the marketing, often the bit that's missing is, especially when you look at like social media marketing, like the social part is often missing. It's the bit I talked about before in some other video recently, where it's like, okay, when people don't actually know who you are and you know how you fit into their lives, you can offer whatever you want and they're not going to react. So how about focusing on that first? So basically taking the results you get, take a step back. Where does it make sense to make a change? Now, if people don't take you up on your offer, well, it's exactly the same thing. You know, take a step back and say, okay, why is it? Is it a seasonal thing? Is it that they don't really need what you've got? Is it that they're just not ready? Because that's something that I found an awful lot in my early days, where I thought, oh, people just don't want my stuff. And you know, after some time, all of a sudden, oh yeah, I remember, that day when we met, I wrote down your number, but now I want the skirt. So that's just a matter of, okay, if there's interest and they're not ready in that moment, well, cool. You know, you just need to talk to enough people to have until they start being ready. And somebody will be ready right now, and other people will be ready in a year. And when you get like a price objection, quite often, it's easy to go down the route, or people don't value my work. And then it's a tiny step to get to people don't value me. And then you'll write down in the dumps, and then you're back to, oh, maybe I'm not cut out for this. Maybe I just get a job. Right? And it's just really easy to go that way. Now, what I'm suggesting is, before you head there, hang on a second. What else could, oh, this is too expensive, mean? Because most of the time, it just means that, well, either you're talking to an audience who simply don't have the money to pay for your product, right? So that's one thing. But quite often, there's a mismatch between what you offer and what they actually need. And a classic example is like kids' flamenco dresses, right? And so they are just a little bit less effort to make than a dress for an adult, for example. Yeah, okay, the seams are a bit shorter, but then sleeves and stuff is a lot more fiddly. So really, you know, the amount of work involved isn't all that different. And yeah, okay, you know, there's less fabric, but when you look at it like a 10-year-old kid, you know, I've calculated this, they're quite often like 70% of, you know, like length from waist to floor. You know, it's maybe 105 centimeters for the average adult dancer, and it's maybe 70 or something for a 10-year-old kid. Like, that's 70%. That's not like this tiny percentage. So it's not gonna cost, like, just the pure cost of making time and material isn't really that much less than an outfit for an adult. Now, mums of kid dancers are the first to like, oh, but that's so expensive, right? And that doesn't mean that they don't value the work, because in reality, they don't really give a damn about the work that takes, or what that means in terms of work or material for me. What they see is, oh, you know, the little girl has started dance classes a few months ago, so now she's in that performance for the end of course performance, and they're told to get that dress. And so she thinks, oh God, you know, that's going to be like so much money for this dress that she won't ever wear again. And who knows whether in 6 months she'll still be into dancing, or whether I'll have to take her to football training. And so she'll be hesitant to spend that kind of money on a dress where it's like a bit overkill for what she really needs. So she will complain about the price, but it isn't really about the price. It's about that product, that handmade, made to measure, custom ordered dress is just overkill for a little girl who does after school dancing once a week and might change her mind next month. And So if you go down the route to feel discouraged and disheartened because people question your price, now what about if you took a step back and said, well, okay, what can I offer that would make sense for mums of those little kids? Could it be like, okay, let's just take the practice skirts and make little aprons and little scarves so they look pretty, it's the same effect, but it just costs a fraction of the price, and basically everybody's happy, and your custom made full on product is for the dancer who's really into this and really serious and has a performance coming up, and where it makes sense to have something special made, and then price won't be an issue. So maybe price isn't the issue anyway. So what I'm suggesting, before you react to a negative or no reaction to your efforts going down the feeling disheartened and discouraged route, hang on a second. Realize it's not personal. That time of banging your head against the wall, like everybody goes through that. It's just like after a while, and if you've been in business for a while, it seems, I often find that when I look back, oh, it sort of seems like, oh yeah, kind of that just sort of started off and all kind of organically and before I knew it. But when I really look at it, I ran around Granada for a year, trying to get somebody to trust me to have something made. And it's easy to forget after a while. And I'd love to hear your take from those of you who've been in business for a while. And so it's the expectation. So yeah, that's normal. You'll have to go through that, and you have to shuffle around and adjust and iterate and experiment until you find your sweet spot. And if there is a negative reaction, what else can that mean? Because when you realize that it isn't about price at all, and it isn't about you anyway, then it's just a lot easier to avoid that heavy feeling that sort of indicates that maybe this dream thing wasn't that great after all. And my take is that it is, and it's worth questioning before you go down that rabbit hole. So I'd love to hear your experience, and any questions you have. As always, I'd love to hear your experience and basically, I'd want to hear from you. Talk to you soon. Bye.